Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Throwback 2009 franchise mode with the Tampa Bay Lightning in NHL 23. So, in last episode, we took on the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round of the playoffs, and unfortunately, we lost in 5 games. And as you can see, they went on to win the Stanley Cup, which is kind of crazy because that team honestly didn't look really, I'd say, much better than our team in a way. But they did find the consistent goaltending of one Nikolai Khabibulin that helped them get all the way to the Cup Finals, where they won over the Phoenix Coyotes. So it was a kind of a weird Stanley Cup Final for 2010. Part of it is a little bit realistic because the Coyotes were obviously really good in 2012. Toronto obviously winning the Stanley Cup does not make sense at all at this point in time, so it's a little bit weird on that front, but still was a very fun season nonetheless. And now we're going to get into probably one of our final off seasons of the series because technically, this episode I'm recording right now a couple days ahead of time is coming out on the 11th. If we go to the Stanley Cup Finals this season, basically that would lead right up until NHL 24. So it would come out on the 2nd that we'd be going to the Cup Finals. But if we do not go to the Cup Finals, and say for instance that we're eliminated in the first round, we might be able to get another season done, but we'll probably have to put all the playoffs in one giant finale episode. So we might be able to get a second season done after this one, but this might be the beginning of the end already for the series, which is kind of crazy. But at the same time, like I said, it's a limited series just because we got to get prepped for NHL 24 and all that. So anyways, that was that. And let's get into a few comments before we get into this draft and resign stage. So the first one is from Jared the Rabbit, who says, looks like Stamkos might be a bust in this universe. And I'm kind of leaning towards the same way. I don't know if I would call him full on a bust, but he has not been producing at the level I was expecting. As you can see, his first 2 years, he's putting up okay point totals, but he's only at like half a point a game basically at this rate, and he's a minus 28. In the playoffs, he didn't do anything for us, so I really hope that he could start finding his game a bit. Maybe we need to find ourselves like a playmaker and use him as a winger to set him up for goals, because at the moment he's not scoring as much as he should. Because you look at his shooting category, that offensive awareness, he should be producing, but for some reason he isn't. The next comment is from Michael Dost, who says, Stamkos killing you. He needs to get going. And yes, I agree again. So more stuff on Stamkos. I really hope he could find himself, because if he doesn't find himself in this 3rd year of his contract, then that's where it gets a bit iffy. But if he could put up like 60 points this year, I would be at least respectable to show that he's consistently getting better. His plus minus also needs to be drastically better. Yeah, well, let's see maybe this offseason if we could find himself somebody that could help him in terms of the goal scoring department and the points department or something like that. Because right now at the moment he's been playing alongside like Ryan Malone and whatnot, so maybe he just needs some younger talent next to him. The next comment is from TLG Wild69, who says, I watched the free agency video late, so I didn't get the comment, but I was going to suggest signing the Bullen Wall, if only. And yeah, if only. I was literally thinking about signing him as well, just because he was a former Lightning player. But yeah, Khabibulin went on a tear, and he re-signs with Toronto. It's looking like he's re-signing with them. As you can see, he was not necessarily the best during the regular season, but playoff-wise, he won all 16 games that he needed. He had a .922 save percentage. And yeah, that would have been really nice to have, but we decided to go with the younger goaltender in Craig Anderson last offseason. And I don't know if that was necessarily the best move, but I think it could still work out in our favor a bit. Obviously, we do still have a 1-2 punch of Mike Smith in him, so hopefully those kind of guys find themselves, or else we might have to look into maybe moving Mike Smith for a different goaltender. And then the last and final comment is from LeafsFan161, who says, no more 1967 memes in this universe. And I guess so. That's kind of weird. Like, 2010, I would have been probably, 2010-11 technically was my first full year of high school. So, thinking that the Leafs would have won the cup back in those days, kind of weird. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie at all. So, anyways, those were the comments I got in the last episode. So let's get into the draft and resign stage, and we'll also take a look at free agency, who's out there, goalie, or not goalie wise, what am I saying? Trade deadline wise, or not trade deadline wise, trading block wise. I can barely speak for some reason this morning, but yeah, we'll take a look at the block. We'll take a look at free agency, see if there's stuff out there for next episode that we could bring in to hopefully make this team into a contender. I wouldn't mind keeping as much players as possible on this roster, but it depends on our salary cap and all that. So let's get into the draft and see what we're able to snag up here. Montreal has the first pick, followed by Anaheim in Edmonton. Anaheim wants to move the second pick, but we're not going to try and move up. But we do have, what pick do we have in this draft? I know it's a later pick, right? 22nd, okay. We do not have our second or third. We have a 4, 5, and 6. So we're not going to really get a whole lot in this draft unless it's an NHL ready player. None of these guys are going to see the light of day in this series anyways, so it doesn't really matter too much. But we're going to still take a look at 22nd and see what is around that point. Obviously, kind of sucks that we aren't able to get somebody like Mark Stone in this draft, but oh well. Oh yeah, there was this defenseman that is medium only guaranteed. But the thing is, he's 4 years out, so we'll never see a day of light with him, but he would be good trade value. So he honestly might be one of my top choices if he is to fall to us. I'm not going to try and move up to get him. Let's see, Lowly potentially, and Shishkinov, he might be interesting as well. Let's just see if there's any actual low elites that are guaranteed. Let's see, any guaranteed low elites for late round steals? No, only Shishkinov is the closest. Our scouts didn't do the best job, but that's okay. We'll also pin Ekman Larson because he might be a low elite. This guy might have an X factor. He almost has ankle breaker. There's Dolan. Yeah, honestly, this class does not look the best. Okay, yeah, we're probably not going to be able to find much in it, but we'll see if we're able to. This is more just to see the players that I made in the draft go. So, Montreal with the first overall pick, what are they going to take? Hillis. Okay, so there's the EA generated guy, Gabriel Hillis, going to the Habs. So there we go. Now comes the interesting part, though, because we have Tyler Seguin and Taylor Hall in this draft. We don't know technically who's the better of the two. It looks like Seguin should be going next to Anaheim, which means Taylor Hall could land in Edmonton like he did in real life, which would be kind of neat. And then we still have to see where Tarasenko goes, Kuznetsov, Stone, Cam Fowler, Jeff Skinner. And then there's also goaltenders as well that I made, like Grubauer. Grubauer would be a good pick maybe with our first rounder, but honestly, he's not even NHL ready yet. He's 2 years out technically, but it would be good to set ourselves up with some goalie prospects, even if we're not going that much further. But I want to kind of just go for NHL ready players. So let's see, what does Anaheim do? Do they take Taylor Hull or do they go Tyler Seguin? Because that was the debate back in these days, is Taylor or Tyler. And if I was choosing right now in real life, I don't really know who I would choose either, because both of them have been pretty solid at times. So let's see, is Anaheim going to go Seguin? Yes, they are. So Tyler Seguin has joined the Anaheim Ducks. 78 overall, medium elite, just because obviously, or else he'd go later on. But there is Seguin. Seems weird seeing him in Anaheim, which means Taylor Hall should be going to Edmonton. And he does. And he's actually 1 overall point better, so he actually grew a little bit better, which is interesting, but he still fell to 3. So the Edmonton Oilers get Hall in this universe as well, which is pretty cool. I like it when that happens. Probably going to have to do a Photoshop job of Seguin in a Ducks jersey, and Hall is still in Edmonton. And then whoever the next one is in, I guess, Colorado's jersey. Who were the top 3 players in this draft in real life again? Because I honestly don't remember who was after Seguin and Hall. 2010 NHL Draft. Let me take a look at this. Might as well, while we're doing this. Oh, Eric Goodbranson was next. I didn't even make him in this, so that's a bit weird. That's a bit weird. The next player I would have made would probably be Jeff Skinner, so I probably would put Jeff Skinner in the thumbnail as well. But there is Seguin and Hall. Who is Colorado going with at 4? Or Cramps, who's a generated guy. And Carolina will grab Tarasenko. So they don't get Skinner, but they get Tarasenko in this universe, which is pretty hilarious, considering the fact that they were in on Tarasenko this offseason in real life. But there you go. So Tarasenko might actually get in that screenshot instead. Tarasenko, Hall, and Seguin. Which means the Atlanta Thrashers probably get like Skinner. Oh, they get Kuznetsov. I don't know why I made him a left winger. I thought I made him a left wing / center, but oh well. That means Florida getting Skinner? No, Florida gets Mark Stone. Imagine if Florida got Mark Stone because of the actual Stanley Cup Finals this season. How different things would have been. Mark Stone would have been on the other team instead of the Golden Knights. That means Buffalo gets Cam Fowler. I thought they were going to go for Skinner, but they go for Cam Fowler. That's a good addition for them. You get a blue liner. Philadelphia gets a random generated guy. Chicago gets a medium elite at 80 overall at number 10. Damn, maybe we should have tried to move up. And Jeff Skinner is a Calgary Flame. That's the last player I wanted to see for now. So there we go. Skinner goes to the Flames. Let's send to our pick at 22. There was a medium elite goalie that just went recently. That's interesting. But Helmer is still there, which is nice. So we will grab ourselves Manuel Helmer, who's a generated, just to give ourselves a medium elite prospect. He's 61 overall, so there is a chance if we have another season after this that he could still make our team. But I think it's likely that he would be used more as trade bait if we want to actually try and be competitive in the series in the last year or two. Let's send to our next pick at 112. And now there's a bunch of crap pretty much going, so I honestly don't know what I want to get with at this point. Yeah, it's a load of shit pretty much the rest of this draft. Like, we're going to have to take a random shot in the dark with, like, a goaltender here like Turikov. Let's just take him. I don't give a crap. Fringe starter, trade value, but not really a whole lot. But, yeah, this draft, again, not that good in terms of depth. Probably because it's a custom roster that they don't have the best depth. Kai Curry, what a name. Any good potential, guys, maybe? Bufflin. You know, I'm going to auto-sim the rest of this draft, honestly. It's not worth wasting my time and just grabbing, like, bottom sixes and stuff. So there is the draft. What did we get after Turikov? We got Ponikarovsky, McKenzie, and Spruev. And if we look at by round, we can see where the other guys I made went. So, what else we got after Jeff Skinner? Trying to look for all those names I made. We know there's some goaltenders at some stage. They should be somewhere soon. Grubauer and Freddie Anderson go to Carolina. So Freddie Anderson going to Carolina in this universe as well, which is pretty dope considering he technically got drafted by Carolina this exact season. But then he didn't actually get signed by them, and then he was with the Ducks, obviously. Jack Campbell goes to the Rangers. What else we got here? Trying to remember. Peter Mrazek goes to the Coyotes. What a surprise. I think that might be it for the goaltenders I made. It's hard to remember which ones I made and which ones I didn't. Actually, no, there's Calvin Pickard. He goes to Columbus. Louis Domingue goes to Atlanta. Scott Wedgwood to Boston. And I think that is it, if I remember right. Yeah, I think that's it. The rest of these guys should be generated. Yeah, I think these are all generated now. Boom. So there is the draft. Let's go to the resign stage. See who we got to resign. We do got to bring back our head coach. The question is he worth bringing back? 67%. We'll bring him back for now, but I honestly don't know if he'll come back. Because maybe he doesn't want to be with this team. I'll give him some more money. We'll try and resign our entire coaching staff at the moment. But honestly, there might be some players coaches we're going to have to replace. Murray Commodore, I almost look like Mike Commodore. I was going to be like, what the heck? And Dimitra, our goaltending coach. Let's try and get these guys all back. There we go. Perfect. We also got a bunch of scouts to bring back. Because we aren't going to be like optimizing our scouts in the series at all. Because it's way too short term of the series that it does not matter to me. Obviously, if this was a brand new start of like a brand new franchise mode in NHL 24, I'd be obviously optimizing my scouts as much as possible so we could get the best drafting as possible. But right now, this series, it doesn't matter too much. Even if they're NHL scouts, I just really don't care. I'm just going to bring them back. There we go. So there is all the scouts, and now we got to get into this re-sign stage and try and maintain this team as much as possible. So let's go to all expiring here. Actually, let's go to RFAs first. Matt Niskanen, I want to sign him long term, I think. We only have $12 million in cap space. Oh my god. Luckily for us, though, a lot of these guys are relatively cheap. We'll give Downey the 2 years that he's asking for. Matt Niskanen, I will give you the 4 years you're asking for. Kari Ramo, I'm going to qualify you. All these guys are going to get qualified as well for the AHL. As might as well. And then we got our UFAs, which is probably where we're going to end up losing some players. Let's start at the bottom of this list and go of a lot of these AHLers, even though technically we need more AHLers. I'm just going to let them all go. Because they probably all want one-way deals in this universe. And I'm not prepared to give a 62 a one-way deal. Let's see. Okay, this is where it's the interesting part is we have Helper, we have Ranger, Kopecky, Pettinger, Artukin, Gotch, and Party. And we got Mike McKenna. Mike McKenna for sure is gone, so he didn't really play that much with us. Played a little bit in the AHL, was fantastic, but most AHL goalies are. Mike McKenna, you are headed to the free agent market because we don't really need you anymore. We have Hellenius, we have Ramo at the moment, so I don't need him. Adam Party, what is he wanting? Not much. He actually wants a two-way deal, so you know what? We'll hold on to Adam Party for sure at that price point. Marcel Gotch, that's a decent price point too. I'll hold on him for 1.35. But then we get into the other players that I'm not 100% sure on. Paul Ranger, ooh. I like Paul Ranger a decent amount, but that eats a big chunk of our cap space. I'm going to wait on him for a second. Artukin wants 1.7. Pettinger wants 1.35. Pettinger, you're good to come back. What about Kopecky? Kopecky doesn't want a lot either, so he'll come back. Jeff Halpern might be gone too. He might ask for a decent chunk. Actually, not that bad. Let's advance today just to see if we get all those guys I offered contracts to at the moment. But honestly, I don't know if we're going to be able to get all these boys back. I hope so. But let's see. We got a lot of our scouts and coaches accepting, which is really annoying that this still pops up. I think they should probably do it. What would be kind of neat if they end up doing this in franchise mode is kind of putting like a little pop-up in the corner of the screen instead of on the main part of the screen. So you just see in the pop-up in the corner of the screen instead of the full main screen saying, hey, so-and-so signed, re-signed. That way, like pretty much like exactly like the music thing in the corner, right? Popping in. It'd be kind of neat to have something like that with like the signings getting accepted instead of having it as a main screen thing, if you get what I mean. So Adam Party and Pettinger and Artukin all rejected. Actually, and Kopecky, I mean. I guess I didn't offer Artukin a contract. We did get, Niskanen back, which is good. We're only at $9 million in cap space. That's not a lot. Let's try and get Party still signed because he wants that two-way. Pettinger, for his price point, I want to still hold on to him if possible. I could easily make some trades in next episode to free up cap space if needed, but let's try and talk these guys up a little bit. And let's advance a day again. See if they accept now. Yeah, these pop-ups would be much better if they were smaller. Those three guys accepted. So we're down to Artukin, Ranger, and Halpern with only $6 million left. I'm thinking we could try and maybe hold on to Paul Ranger, but there's probably going to be good free agents this offseason. Because I could hold on to Paul Ranger hypothetically. For like 1 year, I get him for 3.3. That's half of our cap space, though. Artukin would take 1.7. Halpern would only take $2 million of it. I think I'm going to let all three of these guys walk. I honestly think that's the best course of action right now, because then at least gives us the most money as possible for free agency. And maybe we'll have to actually make some trades to offload a big salary, because who's making the most money on this team right now? Le Cavalier, Gianna, and St. Louis are both pending free agents. I'm not trading St. Louis unless we're not in a playoff spot. Gianna, I'm not trading away either yet. It would have to be somebody like Ryan Malone that we'd have to move to free up more cap space in the next episode. Which honestly might be a good option. Or we get rid of Prospel, but Prospel's been good. He is close to retirement probably though. Yeah, we do have a lot of money tied up with some players. So I am going to let go of all three of these guys for now, but there is a chance we could bring them back. So Evgeny Artukin, best of luck in free agency. I think you have actually weren't on Tampa Bay at this point in time anyways. Jeff Halpern, I think you went to Montreal around this point, so best of luck in free agency. And Paul Ranger, I think you weren't even in the league at this point because obviously you came back and played for the Leafs, but he's the one I don't really want to let go of, but at the same time, maybe there's a better defenseman out there for us if we're able to free up some cap space. So Paul Ranger, best of luck in free agency as well. And there we go. So what do we need on our roster at the moment? We already have our two goaltenders. Defensively, we got 1, 2. Let me actually sort this by overall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Technically, we could use a 7th defenseman or a top 6 defenseman in general. Maybe a top 4. So we could use a defenseman for sure. Let me actually go to unsigned for a second and sign this Helmer dude already. Because might as well since he's AHL eligible. So we need a defenseman. Yeah, we need a defenseman. What else we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 12 roster players. So hypothetically, we don't need to sign a forward, but we might have to. So we need like some depth, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. So we need a defender and some depth forwards, basically, or we can make some trades and try and change up things a bit. But let's head to the free agency department, and we'll first take a look at what's on the trading block, just because I feel like free agency might have some crazy good players in it. So I would prefer to wait and look at that at the end instead, because there could be some pretty big free agents this offseason based on what we saw at the end of the last episode. So let's first take a look at what's on the trading block and see if there's anything that could help bolster our offense out there or team in general. There's Todd White. 2.9. Obviously, we have $6 million cap space, so he'd take a good chunk of that. And he's already 35, so he might be on the decline. Phil Kessel is on the trading block as an RFA. That's actually kind of interesting. And Tuukka Rask, but Tuukka Rask is signed for 5 years, so they're prioritizing Tim Thomas over him, which is interesting. Peter Pruka also, like I was mentioning. Michael Ryder's on the block. I don't know why Boston's trying to fire sell, but they are. They're trying to probably just free up cap space. Mike Knuble on the block, same with Jochen Hecht. What else we got? Conroy, Langkow, Jokinen. There is some very solid players on the block. Samuelson. The question is, are any of these guys worth the money they're making? Eric Cole, Chad LaRose somehow got up to an 84 overall. Weird, and he's only making 1.7. Chad LaRose would be an intriguing player to bring in for the depth purposes. He just had a statistically good season, and that's why. Went from 23 points to 60 points somehow. I don't know how, but he did. Chad LaRose is kind of interesting, but he's more of a grinder, so it's like, I don't really know if we need that. And Chicago must not have cap space because they put Jonathan Taze's contract on the trading block. I don't want Jonathan Taze here. Don't even suggest it. I don't like the guy. Cristobal Huey, though, is also there, but man, that's funny. They must not have the cap space. I got to take a look at some teams' cap situations, I think, as well, because if they're putting like RFAs on the block, some teams are in cap trouble right now. Penner and Morrison are on the block. Holmstrom, Cleary are the only guys in Detroit. Horkov, Kolik, Steos, Komisarek, and Strudwick. Yeah, there is a lot of players out there, which is good because it gives us options to potentially upgrade our team a bit. Daryl Sador on the block in LA, which is funny, going back to LA for him. Rod Brindamore, Andrew Burnett would be a nice pickup. Yeah, Andrew Burnett would be great for the top 6, but he's a sniper as well, so we'd probably prefer to get a playmaker to put next to Stamkos if we could. Yeah, we might need to free up some cap space for next offseason if we do have one more season after this, just because Stamkos might be very expensive, and then we don't want him to be an RFA holdout. Rolston, Langenbrunner, Zubris on the block in New Jersey. Tanguay, Hunter, Semenov, Martinek, and Witt on the block in New York. Of course, Drury, Naslin's on the block. Yeah, I'm liking the fact that there's a lot of good players on the block because we could definitely find a way to get something in. We could easily trade away that elite defenseman we just drafted, but I don't think that's a smart move, but who knows. Parent on the block because he's an RFA. Antropov, Briere's on the block. Hartnell, Sikora. Yeah, there's a lot more good players than I thought there would be on the block. A lot of prospects too, but most of them have not good potential. Weaver, Bergeron, Bouillon. Krejcik is not the one we have. There's some prospects. It's weird that Vancouver drafted like a Kessler guy though. Is that the Anthony Stewart I made? No, that's Ariel Stewart. Whoever the heck you are. I thought that was Anthony Stewart for a second. Michael Nylander, Palmera, John Erskine. And that's it. So that's the trading block. Now the question is, what does free agency look like? I feel like it's going to be really insane. Like there might be some really good players out there. So we're going to start off with looking at the centers available. Let's go to, actually, let's take a look at the RFAs first. So the RFA holdouts, you have Jonathan Taze at the moment. He's trying to get 6.65 for a year, which is more cap space than we have, or more than the cap space we have remaining. There's also Lori Korpikoski, who's trying to get 1.3. You also have Phil Kessel trying to get 6.050, and Bobby Ryan trying to get almost 3 million. Then on the defensive side of things, you got Ryan Parent, who's an RFA, trying to only get 1.15. And then you have some good goaltenders also on the RFA status. Jonathan Quick is the big one. He's trying to get paid. Not a surprise. Yaroslav Halak, Carey Price is an RFA, and Devin Dubnyk. Do all those teams have the cap space to sign those guys is my question. I'm going to look at the cap situation after we look at the free agency pool, if I remember. Let's look at the UFAs. Sort this by overall here. So we got Mark Savard, Patrick Marleau's headed to free agency after he won a cup in year 1. Wow, there's definitely some really good players on the block, or not on the block in the free agency pool. Pavelski's even on the block too, or not on the block in free agency as well. Goddamn, I can barely speak for some reason today. But yeah, Pavelski being a free agent already is kind of weird. San Jose must not have the cap space or something. But there is a lot of solid players out there. Like if we wanted to replace Jeff Halpern with a cheaper option, Eric Belanger is there, for example, or even Camille Krebs. I don't know why he's got high top 6 potential. I didn't give him that. But he's only an 81 at 26. Only wants 1.5. Also, Boyd Gordon, good face-off man, only wants 1.325. So we might be able to find what we need free agency-wise instead. John Mitchell only wants 975K as a 79, so we should be able to find some good enough replacements or bottom 6 kind of options for our team. Rick Nash is already heading to free agency. I should take a look at what these guys are, what teams are interested in these guys as well. I'll do that in a little bit. Pavel Dimitra, Slava Kozlov. Yeah, there is a lot of solid players out there. Paul Correa. The question is, do we have the cap space to bring in some decent players? Ville Peltonen would be a solid signing, even though he's 37. Mason Raymond would be a good signing. I'm surprised that some of these 25-year-olds are already let go of. Damn, okay. I like it. I like it a lot. Right wing wise, what do we got? Bill Guerin and Alex Semin is into free agency. Yeah, there's a lot of really good players this free agent pool. Like, this might be one of the most stacked free agent pools I've seen in this roster build. I don't want David Clarkson. No, thank you. Oh, my. Fabian Bernstrom at 25 years old would be fun. Because I remember when he got a hat trick and everybody's like, oh, this guy's going to be great. And then he just dropped out of nowhere. There is a lot of intriguing things out there. What about defensively? Sergei Gonchar wants 8.8. That's more than the cap space we have, but he just came off an Art Ross trophy winning season. You also have Chris Pronger there, Scott Niedermayer. Even Duncan Keith has left Chicago. Holy crap. Didn't have some of this stuff on my bingo card, but here we are. Paul Martin's pretty damn good too. There is a lot of good options out there, but a lot of them we don't have really the cap space for. Mark Stewart would be fine for 1.925 as a top 6 defenseman. He's only 26. Yeah, we definitely have options trading-wise and signing-wise if we want to bolster this team up a bit. We could also trade away, like I said, Ryan Malone and sign somebody else in free agency or trade him for another player. Free up cap space that way. What do we got on the goaltending front? Roberto Luongo, holy shit. Yeah, this is the most insane free agent pool. Luongo, Jonas Hiller, Marty Turco, Evgeny Nabokov, Cam Ward. Like, a lot of these guys I expected to get re-signed, but they didn't. Holy crap. Okay, let's take a look at those players that have interest from teams and seeing where they could potentially go for the start of the next episode. So Josh Harding has interest from the Rangers. Brian Boucher has interest from the Flames, where he actually played in real life at one point. Luongo has no interest at the moment, which is kind of weird. Defensively, Duncan Keith has 4 teams interested in him. New York, New Jersey, Vancouver, and Buffalo. Paul Martin, what about him? Boston and Carolina. Scott Niedermayer has interest from Detroit, which is kind of weird. Looking to replace Nick Lidstrom, who just retired in the offseason. Zalewski has interest from Phoenix. McCulloch has interest from Ottawa, as in Zabinik, not as in Milan. Chris Campoli has interest from the Dallas Stars. And Rosti Klusla has interest from the Edmonton Oilers. In terms of right wingers, Alex Semin has 1 team interested. That's the LA Kings. That would be a good addition for them. Jared Bull has interest from the Washington Capitals, which is kind of funny. Rick Nash. Who's interested in Rick Nash? The Sharks and the Wild. No Rangers, unfortunately. Mason Raymond has interest from Columbus. And in center-wise, Matthew Lombardi has interest from Atlanta and Colorado. Ryan Kessler, who's in free agency, has interest from Toronto and Anaheim. Let's go, Anaheim. Come on. If Anaheim gets Ryan Kessler in this universe, that would be pretty funny. Joe Pavelski has interest from the Nashville Predators. Eric Fair has interest from St. Louis. And finally, Blair Betts has interest from the Pittsburgh Penguins. So there's that, and I think that's all I wanted to do in this episode. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to do in this episode. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Tampa Bay Lightning Throwback 2009 franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to free agency. We'll also simulate halfway through the season, because this might be either our last season coming up or our second last season of the series. So let me just think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.